Everyone is smart at med school, that includes you. You didn't get to this point by being bottom of the class. Your ability to learn, retain, and evaluate information will stand you in a good stead at med school. But be prepared for the approach of learning a little bit different that you have been doing. So here are some things you should be aware of while getting into med school. You will have a lot of books with a lot of information, never endless information to absorb from those books, scientific information alongside clinical information, conflicting resources without past questions, and the most important is self-learning and do-it-yourself approach. Questions that arise in medical students' mind: where do I even start trying to learn? How it is possible to learn this much? How does this information relate to being a doctor? How can you test yourself at a right level? How should I structure my workload? Hello friends, myself Dr. Mithun, biochemistry resident. I am here to give answers to some of those questions that every medical student has in his mind. So let's get to it. It's very hard to focus on study while having so much distractions around you. But mind you, you are in the profession where you don't have luxury of time. Stop procrastinating. Try to sit with the topic or try to study for 5 minutes without any distractions. And you will develop an interest or passion about that particular subject or topic, and you will see in time that you can able to study for longer duration of time, more than 5 minutes. Do little bit work every day. Whenever you are starting your first year of MBBS, as most of the medical students, we tend to get more relaxed and try to have a lot of fun than studying. This is not bad thing. You should try to do a little bit of work every day. That will decrease the pressure, or that will lower the pressure later on in your study. Suppose you had a lecture today about Krebs cycle. So after going home, you just review that information or you just review the textbook for the Krebs cycle. Give that particular topic just 5 to 10 minutes to get that information absorbed in your brain. What I'm trying to say is, don't keep pending works, don't keep a pile of stack one above other, so that it will be very difficult for you at the end to go through all that stock of pile, and it will be very burdensome for your brain also. You will not able to comprehend the situation. First thing you have to understand, you should know your weaknesses. What does it mean by that? Consider biochemistry. If you are learning biochemistry, and consider you are learning a process of transcription and translation in genetics. After reading this topic for longer period of times, you are not able to understand the topic. You can consider that this topic is your weakness. You are studying biochemistry and you are understanding the other topics like metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, lipids, vitamins, enzymes, and you are not understanding. And if you are not able to understand the transcription or translation process, that means that particular topic is your weakness. So you should focus on weaknesses while you are studying. Once you find out what is your weakness, you should color code them. You can use traffic lights. Red meaning that is your weakness, that you have to review that material very often. You have already understood that topic, so don't spend too much time on that. Spend the remaining time to understand the topic which you have marked in red. This will give you more time to focus on your weaknesses rather than spending a lot of time for the topics which you have already understood. Let's take a look at infamous Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. This curve shows us what typically happens to your memory in a week after you learned something new. As you can see, it is pretty steep. As a medical student, you will be taking in a new information every day. So anything that you can do to help keep new concepts in your memory for longer will improve performance and in long run make things
a whole lot easier. Ultimately, we want to reduce the effects of forgetting curve and be successful at storing and retrieving lots of medical information. As such, the strategies that we will cover in this video will focus on maximizing semantic memory, that is our understanding and memory of facts. The following evidence-based techniques can be easily assimilated into revision routine no matter which profession you are in. As Ebbinghaus said, with frequent repetition, the capacity of consciousness may be increased. Studying textbook is just like exercising. The difference is when we study, we tend to cram all information into one day study session instead of spacing it out over a time. During all night study for next day exam is just like trying to run thousands of miles the day before marathon. It simply doesn't work. The idea of spaced repetition is to space out your repetition or review sessions so that you are not cramping your brain all at once with all the knowledge. By cramping, all you do is make your brain tired and also lose whatever information you have already learned. So, in this video, I will teach you how to use spaced repetition for studying. We will learn what is spaced repetition, what are the benefits, and how to overcome forgetting curve with the help of spaced repetition. So, what is spaced repetition? Spaced repetition is a memory technique that involves reviewing and recalling information at optimal spacing intervals until the information is learned at sufficient level. This technique helps your brain remember more information as it keeps the material fresh in your mind and forces you to use active recall. What are the benefits? An overreaching benefits of technique is that it simply helps you memorize better. Besides improving memory, other benefits are continuously re-exposes you to information at spaced intervals, helps your brain build long-term memories, increase the time spent actively rehearsing a memory in your brain rather than passively consuming the information, allows for consolidation of new information with old related knowledge that has already been stored in long-term memory, making it easier to retrieve and recall the information later. The Ebbinghaus forgetting curve is a graph that represents the way of information is forgotten over time. This forgetting curve starts with near perfect recall in the beginning, but as a person continues to forget the material, the curves flatten until the bottom line where the person can't remember anything at all about what was studied. Spaced repetition uses the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve to its advantage by recalling information at strategic time. The method forces you to review the information before your brain has a chance to forget all information and not letting the curve reach the bottom. So the first step of using spaced repetition is planning the spacing of your study sessions. The optimal interval depends on many factors such as complexity of the topic, scale of the topic, your learning capacity, and any pre-existing knowledge on the topic. All these factors will have an influence on how you should plan your spaced repetition study sessions. Thus, there is no single magic formula. However, one of the most common ways of choosing spacing interval involves doubling the spacing after every interval. For example, day 1 that will be repetition 1, then day 7 will be repetition 2, day 16 will be repetition 3, and day 35 will be repetition 4. The second step of spaced repetition is to review and study your learning material for the first time. To do this, make sure you set aside enough time and comfortable study space to fully cover the topic without distraction. This is one of the hardest and most time consuming step of the spaced repetition method. After doing this once, you will have an easier time recalling concepts during subsequent repetitions. Recall the information at the first spacing intervals. Now that you have studied and reviewed the concept for the first time, it's time to start using repetition. When repeating the material for the first time, try to follow the same steps you followed for studying and reviewing. This will help you strengthen the pre-existing memories that you have acquired during the step 2. The first study sessions should be shorter than subsequent sessions so that more of one's effort will go towards recalling the information rather than learning new material. The fourth step is keep recalling the information at chosen spacing intervals. Having finished your first repetition, all you need to do now is to keep going through the same learning process by recalling the same information at optimal intervals. Stick to the schedule you choose in step 1 and have trust in your system. Spaced repetition takes time to show the results, but once it does, you will be more than happy with what you have achieved. Strategy for learning new material has been in practice. That is one skill at a time or learn one topic at a time before moving on to the next thing. Something like I will get good at this first and then I will move on. This strategy is called as blocking. However, there is an alternative strategy that you can use which has shown to give improved results. It is called as interleaving, where blocking involves practicing one thing at a time before the next. For example, learning topic A before topic B, forming the pattern AABB, and in interleaving, you mix the several topics together, forming the pattern ABAB. So blocking would be AABB, like anatomy, anatomy, physiology, physiology. Interleaving would be ABAB, anatomy, physiology, anatomy, physiology. Switching between ideas during the study session and reviewing them in a different order can help. Mixing up the topics when learning may seem slight, it is little harder as it can take a bit longer to learn the material. However, the added effort of mixing can generate better and longer lasting results. It is important to note that when using the interleaving method, you shouldn't switch between subjects too often. It's all about getting the balance right.
Active recall is a study method that involves informational retrieval and repeated testing to improve your retention, comprehension, and memorization. It is commonly used in a self-directed manner through a flashcard system or self-generated questions. So what are the benefits of active recall? Repeated testing of learned material reduces forgetfulness and it helps you to consolidate the information in long-term memory. Retrieval practices enhances the transfer of knowledge that requires for a particular topic with integration of multiple concepts. During active recalling, your brain is constantly organizing the information and that helps you to retain that information for longer period of time. So how to use active recall? First is practice testing. It is integral to the active recall process and it is the best way to learn for any examination. Firstly, identify the critical information or knowledge that you want to learn. It may be a Krebs cycle or it may be pathophysiology of atherosclerosis. Once you have established the understanding of that particular critical information, you have to test yourself. This can be done with the help of spaced repetition that we have already discussed. This will not only help you to learn, but this will also motivate you to study more because you will see along the way how you are doing. Additionally, it will give you more confidence for answering the question so that you will feel more prepared while answering the questions in exams. So question is, where will you get practical questions from? After end of the every chapter, you can find there are some questions given. You can use those questions. You can note down the questions, those are given by your lecturer, or you can surf the internet where you can find the already published question banks. Next technique that you can apply for active recall is self-generated questions. Creating your own self-generated question will not only help your brain to retain that information for longer period of time, but it will also make a connections with the information that you have already stored in your long-term memory. Whenever you are creating your own questions, you are participating in that process actively and not passively by taking or consuming the information from others. The third method that you can use for active recall is flashcards. Making flashcards is time consuming, but the payoff is incredible. Or you can use Anki's flashcards. I will be making separate video how to effectively use Anki's flashcards.
This popular time management method asks you to do alternate pomodoros, focus work sessions, with frequent short breaks to promote sustained concentration and stave off mental fatigue. What is Pomodoro technique? Here we get to-do list and a timer. Set your timer for 25 minutes and focus on a single task until your timer rings. When your session ends, mark off one Pomodoro and record what you have completed. Then enjoy 5-minute break. After 4 Pomodoros, take a longer break, that is of 15 to 30 minutes. If a task requires more than 4 Pomodoros, it needs to be divided into smaller actionable steps. Sticking to this rule will help you ensure you make clear progress on your study. The Pomodoro is indivisible unit of time and cannot be broken, especially not to check incoming emails, team chats, or text messages. Any ideas, tasks, or requests that come up should be taken note of to come back to later. What makes Pomodoro so effective? The procrastination has little to do with laziness or lack of self control. Rather, we put things off, avoid negative feelings. It's uncomfortable to stare down a big task or a project. One you may not be sure how to even do, or one involves lot of uncertainty. That procrastination busting strategy is what exactly the Pomodoro technique asks you to do. Break down your big task, projects, or goals into something you only have to do for next 25 minutes. It keeps you hyper focused on the one next thing you need to do rather than get overwhelmed by the enormity of what you are taking on. Don't don't worry about the outcome, just take it one Pomodoro at one time. The Feynman technique is based around the idea that one of the most effective techniques to enhance our understanding is to imagine that we are teaching the material to someone who has absolutely no idea about the topic, like a small child. By doing this, we force ourselves to explain our thoughts fully and avoid glossing over topics we don't understand well enough. Through the four steps of Feynman technique I have outlined below, we are encouraged to identify our knowledge gaps, reorganize our thoughts, and ultimately improve our long term retention of that knowledge. So, first step is to identify the topic. To choose the topic we have recently studied, the first step is to identify the topic. Choose a topic you have recently studied, or a topic you would like to test your knowledge and understanding. This can literally be any topic we want. In the second step, pretend you are teaching and explaining the topic to small child or someone who is near, someone who's never come across the topic before. The key here is simplicity. Explain the concept using simple language. In step 3, we need to pinpoint the areas we found difficult to explain or had to return to our notes or textbooks to refresh our understanding. If we had to use any difficult terms in our explanation, we should challenge ourselves to break down those terms into simpler components. And the final step of Feynman technique is to rewrite our explanation of a topic in simpler terms. This often involves reorganizing our thoughts so the explanation flows more naturally, finishing incomplete thoughts, and finding simpler examples to break down complex ideas.
It is peculiar irony of life that the best way of learning is to teach someone else and not keeping that information to yourself. Knowledge wants to be free. While teaching others what you can learn for yourself, you are able to see the knowledge from objective perspective. Therefore, you are able to see the gaps in the information, and later on that gaps can be filled with the correct information by referring to textbooks or lectures. Transferring the knowledge to others will make you understand that topic more deeper and meaningful, and more importantly, once you teach that topic to others, you will retain that information for longer period of time, and you can make out that information in your own word, in your own understanding. Teaching others will make your brain more better to think. You will be able to make better decisions, and it will be helpful for you to achieve your goals in life. As you can see in this learning pyramid, as you go from passive to active learning methods, your retention rate increases. So the retention rate for lectures or reading is only about 5 to 10%. So it is not effective way of learning. If you can see at the bottom of the pyramid, you will see the practice testing and teaching the information to others will give you more retention. Getting a better sleep will help you to consolidate the information that you have gathered, help you to consolidate that information into long-term memory. I will not suggest students to go for night studies because you are overburdening your brain. By doing all-night study before the exam, you are not only making the brain tired but also losing the information that you have already gained or that you have already stored in long-term memory. It is proven scientifically that sleeping better helps you remember better. If you are constantly taking information in and not giving time to get that information consolidated, that information will be gone as fast as it's getting in. At least have a REM sleep of 6 to 8 hours. So plan your study sessions according to that. So I hope this study techniques that I have covered in this video will help you to get through your studies effectively, and it will also help you to achieve your goals and understand the medical basic subjects and science behind it. So in my next video I will start with the first lecture, carbohydrate metabolism. So stay tuned and see you in the next video.